Okay, so now we're going to talk about combining like terms. And if you go back one video, we talked about constants, variables, and terms. So we know that a term is a variable. We know that a term is a constant or a number, whether it's in fraction or decimal form. Uh, and now we get to put all those things together. And this is kind of a very important thing in algebra, because if you don't understand this, some of the more difficult processes kind of fall apart, because this is the elementary part of it. So when we're talking about combining like terms, we're simply talking about adding and subtracting. Okay, so we got to remember that at the core, all we're doing is adding and subtracting. And when we're talking terms, not only are we talking like terms, they have to be exact terms. So combining like terms is something, a phrase, if you will, that we use. So we're not just saying, oh, that's close, so therefore we're putting those all together. You know, we got light rocks and dark rocks. We're not talking that. They've got to be the exact same thing. They've got to be the make, mold, shape, shine, everything. They've got to be exactly the same. All right. So as we take that into account, let's just throw you one here. Let's say that I've got 3 plus 4b minus c plus 2a minus 8 plus 5c. All right. So when I talk to us about, and when I mean we are adding and subtracting, notice we're adding and subtracting, but I'm not going to call them those. Okay. Is that addition? Well, yes. Is that positive? Well, here again, yes. Is that subtraction? Yes, it is. Is that a negative C? Yes, it is. All right. So how I do this is I do this a little different than most. Okay. The first thing we have to understand is, where do we start? Well, I have to figure out how many terms I have. Okay. And when I do, the addition and subtraction actually separates my terms. So I have a 3, which is a term. I have a positive 4b, which is a term, my second term. I have a negative c, my third. Positive 2a is my fourth. Negative 8 is my fifth. And a positive 5c is the sixth. Well, if I want, to make this easy on everybody, you, somebody that's working with you, or somebody that you're teaching, or even your teacher who's grading some stuff, there needs to be an order to this. So my order starts right here. I'm going to go to this guy. Why? Because A leads my alphabet. Okay, this is going to be in alphabetical order. So I have 2A. What comes after A? Well, B comes after A. So I have a positive 4B. Now notice I'm just putting this in order right now. Okay, next comes C, and I have a couple different C's. So these guys, I will actually combine those terms because they are alike. And when I combine those terms, I'm looking at negative 1c and a positive 5c. So I will take their coefficients, the numbers in front of their variables, and I will put those together or combine like terms, which means I have a negative 1, a positive 5. I'm adding the opposite sign, difference of 4. So the larger is positive, and they are C terms. So that term is basically like a name, like a last name, if you will. And I apply that at the backside. And then last, but definitely not least, I have these guys here. I have a 3 and a negative 8. Here again, difference of 5, sign of the larger is negative. So this is my simplified expression. Okay, it's not an equation, doesn't have an equal sign, it's an expression. We can figure this guy out if we knew what the variable A, B, and C stood for. But right now, that's where we end this problem, because we cannot simplify anymore. Remember, this is alphabetical order. And our teachers will greatly appreciate that. Okay, well, there are other ways to do this problem, and other ways that this problem comes to you. So let's try another problem here. Let's go 3x plus 4x squared minus 2 plus 6 minus 4x plus 2x. All right. Yeah, minus 7. Why not, right? Okay, so here again, addition subtraction breaks my terms. So I have a positive 3x, 1, a positive 4x squared is 2, a negative 2 is 3, a positive 6 is 4, a negative 4x is 5, a positive 2x is 6, and a negative 7 is my 7th term. All right, well, this one's going to be a little bit different because we're not going to put it in alphabetical order. They're all the same variable, but they're not really. They have, when I talk in the same variable, they have to all be exactly the same. And for x squared, the x squared is not the same as x. If I came over here and I said, well, x is 2, well, x squared is not 2. X squared would be 4. So they're not exactly the same thing. So I can't mix and match those guys. Okay. So when I do this, of course, my order here, it's not going to be alphabetical. It's going to be exponential. And for right now, I'm going to call this exponential order decreasing. So when I start, I'm going to look for the highest exponent. Now, our math will change us as we go farther along. Sometimes the order gets dictated by how the problem is set up. So keep that in mind. But for right now, we're going to put this in order. And I'm going to go largest to smallest. So I have a 4x squared. After 4x squared, I take this and drop it down 1. I get x to the first power, which is just x. I have an x here. I have a negative 4x. And I have a 2x, and when I add the same sign, I get 5 x's here, and then I find the difference. So I subtract 4. Sign of the larger is positive 1x, and 1 times x is simply just x. So let's go ahead and simplify that right now. And then we have our constants still. And yes, I do this. If I'm writing on homework paper and I'm writing with a pencil paper, where it's all the same color, I will, instead of use different colors, this will be a circle, that will be a square, I'll triangle, I'll underline, just so I know what the difference is between them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that last constant term down. So I've got negative 2 and negative 7, which is negative 9. Add 6 to it. Difference of 3, sign of the larger is negative. And here is my simplified expression as I'm talking in exponential order. Okay, so please refer back to this when we're talking combining like terms, because as I teach, I see a lot of kids mess this up in some specific order. Okay,